This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, where we spread awareness for men's mental health and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes drop weekly.
Lord, to just help men, especially out there, Lord, that need to hear that their life has meaning, their life has value, and their life has purpose. We're going to navigate into some, difficult subjects tonight, Lord. And I just pray you'll fill me with your Holy Spirit, that you'll guide this conversation, and that you will be with both of us, that we'll be able to help others that listen and tune in tonight. Lord, thank you for all that you've done in my life. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm honored to have this platform and to sit down with Stephen tonight. It's in your mighty name that I pray. Amen. Welcome back to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Steve, and this platform is all about raising awareness for men's mental health and also the gospel of Jesus Christ. Tonight's episode is a little different. We're going to dive into sex, lies, and repercussions. I'm joined tonight by Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, and he's the author of the book, The Venus Flytrap. He's also a coach, a counselor, and a speaker. And a fun fact, he lives in beautiful Florida, which is where I wish I was at right now, but I'm here in Tennessee, but that's all right. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast tonight, brother. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Steve, I really appreciate you having me on here. We're going to have a great time. And my goal is to make sure everybody leaves here, this session, this time, with something of great value that can impact them in a positive way.
Well said. Well said. Well, can you kind of tell us, if someone's hearing you for the first time, give us kind of an overview of who you are and what led you to this journey of helping people?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. And I hate that question.
That's a hard one. It's a hard one right off the bat.
I'll be honest with you. I don't even know who I am myself yet. So hopefully we can maybe even figure that out a little bit on this. But so I'm a kid. I was going to say I'm a kid. Well, I am a kid, right? In fact, people say that all the time. You're just a big kid. I go, I know. But anyway, I grew up in the UK in a little town called Blackpool and had a horrific childhood, like most people did, right?
Yeah.
I was listening to the guest I was telling you about on the last podcast, and he had a rough time, and I did, man. I mean, I think most people did in some way, shape, or form, but you don't know that when you're a kid, right? It's not like you walk into school and at the playground at the break, you get all your buddies together and go, hey, listen, man, I'm going through a nightmare. What's happening for you? Any trauma in your life? We just don't do that, right?
No, we don't.
So we don't know. So we think we're the only one, that everybody else has got a perfect life. Their parents are perfect. And so it's almost like we are ashamed, right, of what was going on in our home. I mean, probably should be. But anyway, so I grew up, they say, walking on eggshells. I was walking on glass. And when I was growing up, which is a long time before you were, they used to say kids should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even supposed to be seen, let alone heard, right?
Wow.
So for me, I didn't have a voice, man. My parents were very controlling, a lot of gaslighting, and just putting you in a situation where you felt like you're in a straitjacket. So for example, let's say all the kids are having an ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
My father would say, you don't want an ice cream, do you, Stephen? What are you going to say, right? You're not going to get one if you say yes anyway. So you just go no, right? But you really do. So you feel like you're just being pushed down, right? So when I went to bed at night, I used to have to, I'm not kidding. I used to have to bang my head on the pillow until I fell asleep, exhausted. It was the only way I could fall asleep. So, and that might be why when I was 16, I actually did get admitted to an insane asylum. So, and I'm not kidding, I did, right? So, and they gave me electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. So I was going through some challenges, right? So, and I went in there on a freaking high, right? I was as high as a kite. I loved everybody, which isn't normal, right? But even so, I felt great. I felt amazing. So apparently that's not normal. So they had to bring me down with drugs and ECT until I was depressed. And then they said, okay, you're normal now. You can go home. So
wow.
Hold on.
No kidding.
Yeah, really. And so that led me to, I was diagnosed, just so you know, because this is important to our story. I was diagnosed with manic depression.
Okay.
Which is, we know that today is bipolar, right?
Right.
And so my life reflected that, man. Super highs, super lows, more lows than highs. So, but because I hated my home, man, I mean, all I wanted to do was run away.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I ran away 8 times, but they kept catching me and bringing me back. So finally, I left home when I was 16, right? And then by the time I was 17, I had my own home. which wasn't normal back then, right? And most kids didn't have their own house by the time they were 17. But
No, that's really young.
the reason is, man, I never wanted to go back.
Mhm.
I never wanted to go home again. I never wanted to be in that environment again, man. So I was so freaking intense and determined. It led to me being successful financially, right? But this pattern repeated itself. This is important when we get because we're going to talk about the book. Like this pattern repeating myself. Repeated itself? What pattern? Being intense, being successful, and then burning out
Mm.
because I was so intense it was unsustainable, right?
Right.
And then when I burned out, I would just crash. The whole thing would implode. I would be like, I'm so exhausted. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go back to doing what I was doing. So I would then rebuild myself,
Mm.
recreate myself over and over and over again. So you've had 2 marriages. I've had 4. Right.
Okay.
So I got you beat there, man.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure I want to beat you at that really, but you know what I
You're
mean.
in Florida, so so
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of temptation, right?
you got
Although
that
not
you got that on me though, man. You got that on me.
man, that's funny. So anyway, but I just want to share why, because for the longest time, I was a victim, you know, you say these, like, I've just met a lot of crazy bitches, man. And that's, I mean, it's just, you're a victim, right? I'm such a freaking victim, man. So finally, I got it, right? Okay. So people used to say to me, hey, listen, man, you've been married 4 times. What's wrong with all these women?
Right,
Well, there we
right.
go. Well, let's do the math here, right? 4 marriages, 1 constant in all those marriages, me, right? So I had to look at why this was happening. And you know this, it usually goes back to your childhood, right?
Mhm.
It's something that happened in your childhood. So for me, and this is going to sound funny, but it wasn't funny at the time. So we play sports, you go to the showers, right? And I was the kid that they said had a small dick. And of course, when someone picks you on that, the rest of the kids all pile on because the other
Yep.
guys are going, holy shit, I'm glad it's not me, right?
Right,
So they
right.
pile on, right? And then it goes around the whole school. But the
Yep.
point is, I became ashamed, right? Of my sexuality, right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing that happened is I would get overwhelmed, Steve. I was living in the house. I had no voice. I couldn't say anything. And I was in this incredibly controlling environment. So what would happen is I'd get overwhelmed. And then what did I want to do? I wanted to run away, man. And so when I got married and I had these marriages, when it became overwhelming for me, I didn't think there was any way to fix it. I just ran away,
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it just shows how the patterns from when we're children play out in our lives until we heal them. And that's why I say to people, listen, prevention before the cure.
Mhm.
Rather than take all that baggage that I think everybody has. I haven't met anybody that doesn't have any baggage from their childhood, right?
Mhm.
If you work on that before you get in a relationship, it's going to save you years of confusion and frustration, right? And then you take yourself into a relationship. Well, we know there's nothing such as normal, right? But you take yourself into a relationship where a lot of that baggage is dealt with, so you don't have to deal with it in your marriage, right?
Mhm.
So I told you I go on a rant. What do you want to ask me?
All right, so I got a couple questions. You're good. No, you're good. So you mentioned that you had your own house at 17
Yeah,
and you were intense and you were determined to be financially independent. Did you feel unworthy of success because of
100%,
your childhood? Okay.
100%.
And I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that. So when you felt unworthy of success, did you self-sabotage in ways to kind of derail that success? Because you mentioned you had to rebuild and start
Yeah,
over.
absolutely, 100%, man. And the way that I employed it was to be. This is interesting, right? Nobody says, "Hey, I'm gonna, I'm gonna mess it up," right?
Right, right.
But there's a pattern that creates that over and over again, and you're going, "What the hell is it?" So for me, it was being so intense, working my ass off to be successful because I thought that was gonna, take me away, right?
Mhm.
Run into that distraction, right? But then I burn out. Now you'd think you'd go after a couple of times, you go, I'm not going to burn out. But I did. I kept because I was so driven by this fear that I'd had as a child. And of course, with all those things going on as a child, you think about, having a small dick, going to a mental institution, and then with my parents, just completely, nobody ever said anything positive to me. There was never any build. It was all put you down. For sure, I had bad self-esteem, which obviously carried throughout my life until I started to rebuild it. Yeah, for sure, man.
So would you say, I'm going to ask you a two-part question. I've also been told several times that I'm too intense, that I'm uptight, that I'm too serious. Would you say that intensity can be stemmed from shame in childhood? Do those have a correlation with each other?
Well, I had a lot of shame, and I was intense.
So did I. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, right?
yeah,
So I definitely think that can be a big part of it. I think some of it is also you wanna prove yourself, you know,
100%, man. Yep.
because you don't have good self-esteem, and you
Yep.
think by being this outwardly successful guy, right,
Hmm.
you are somehow and I don't know how your relationship was with your father. I didn't have a relationship with my father,
Hmm.
but you still wanna freaking get their approval.
Yeah,
You don't even
definitely.
realize it, right? So, but yeah, so that was another part of it, which is just I just wanna share this with you real quick. I just had a moment where I just remembered something. You know, I always wanted my father never said, "Well done," or "I'm proud of you," or anything like that, right? And then one day, it was actually around my 4th marriage, right? We were getting married. It was either the night before or the night of, and we're all sitting in my house, right? And my dad, I don't even know why, he just said, you know, "I just want you to know I'm proud of you." But here's the thing, it didn't hit me like I thought it would. It was like this doesn't sound very nice, but it was almost like I was past the need for that. Does that make sense? I didn't
Yeah.
need it anymore. However, I will say I still appreciated it,
Hmm.
and that's maybe why he'd never given it before, because I wanted it so badly, I was pushing it away anyway, right?
Right.
And when we don't need something anymore, it tends to come along, right?
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's right. So did you, and this is probably, you probably already answered this, but did you also feel unworthy of love because you didn't feel
100%, of course,
seen?
because but yeah, yeah, you're hitting all the nails on the head, man, right?
I can
So,
relate
yeah,
to some of this. So I mean, that's why I'm asking these questions because
sure,
I'm
man.
kind of talking to myself here.
Yeah, but my mom and I didn't know this as a kid, right? So my mom, she, her father walked out and left the family one day, never said he wasn't coming back, nothing, and my mom used to sit on the back step of the house every night hoping he was gonna walk around the corner. So she had major trauma and wounds in her own life that
Hmm.
made it very difficult for her to show love, right?
Yeah.
Which then caused me not to feel loved, right? So when your mother hasn't really shown you nurturing or love, you don't feel worthy of it. And then you carry that into the women that you meet, right? And have relationships with. Yeah. So absolutely. Basically, I was really messed up, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, and so I got another question for you. And this is going to dig a little bit deeper. And I don't know the answer to this. We were talking a little bit offline. Growing up in such a really strict household, you didn't feel seen, you didn't feel worthy of love, and you wanted to run away. Was there a strict upbringing when it came to religion? Was that forced upon you?
No, it wasn't. My mom was a Catholic. My dad was agnostic,
Okay.
right? Because my dad never wanted to commit to anything unless he was really sure.
Okay. Okay.
So that was kind of, I never wanted to be wrong, right? So there's a way to be not saying you don't believe in God, but also saying I'm not so sure, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Just
however, what I will say is I went to a Christian school.
okay.
So we went to assembly every morning. We read from the Bible. We said prayers. So we did all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
So it wasn't that I wasn't involved with religion. But you see, part of it for me was coming from a very controlling background. This is not going to be a shock. I didn't like authority, right, at
No
all.
way.
And
No
yeah,
way.
right. I fought against it so much, right?
Mhm.
And I don't. I mean, I know you have a close relationship with God, but I talk to God all the time, and God talks to me. I have a direct line, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I got it, but I got it, right? Maybe I was in such bad shape. But what was I going to say about that? Yeah. What were we talking about just before that?
Like if church was kind of forced upon you growing up and if it
Yeah, no, it wasn't, but I used to sit in my room. I was a loner as a kid, right? I spent a lot of
Mhm.
time alone because I didn't wanna go downstairs and sit with my parents, right?
Right, right.
So I sat in my room and I I occupied myself, in some cool ways, man. I did some cool stuff. But anyway, and I would talk to God. Yeah, I would
Really?
talk. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I don't know how. I just assumed that God would talk back, and God did. Right?
Huh.
I actually wrote a book. I think I've got it here. Right? It's called Communicating with God. I wrote a whole book about my
Wow.
conversation with God. It's
Very cool.
amazing. Yeah. So, and I didn't have any beliefs that I couldn't. Right? So,
Yeah. No, that's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
So I encourage people to do that, to just talk. And I always say, look, people say, how do you know you're talking to God? Well, I have a way, and it's actually in the book that I know for sure, right? That God
mhm,
exists, right? God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. You can
mhm.
call it Bill. It doesn't really. God doesn't have an ego in it, right?
Right.
He's not going to say, you call me Bill. That's it. We're done, right? So I had that. And I didn't like authority, right? And
Yeah.
that, of course, caused all kinds of problems in my teenage years, right? I got into all kinds of trouble because we need a family, man.
Right. We
We
do.
need family. And
Yep.
if we don't get it from our family, we're going to find family somewhere else. And very often that's not in a good place, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I went on the wrong side of the tracks, got in a lot of really big trouble, doing drugs, all that stuff, until I came to America, funnily
Hmm.
enough. I had this thing in my head. It sounds stupid now, but a lot of things do, right? So I thought to myself, I'm going to go to live in America. Everybody's healthy in America.
Yeah. Sure we are.
So
Sure
I
we are.
said, I got to get healthy, right? I got to get healthy. Got to start working out. Got to start eating right. No more alcohol. No more drugs.
Yeah.
And so that was the kind of lifestyle that I decided to live here. And I really did that right up until I met Tomas. And then it all went sideways.
The reason I ask about religion is because I've been told that if you have a strained relationship with your earthly father, it really plays a role with your heavenly father. So a lot of men that struggle with that relationship growing up, they don't feel
Yeah.
love. They don't hear I'm proud of you, I love you. It makes men kind of look at God like I'm not worthy of that because he's not going to love me because I'm not good enough. And I've been told that before, and it for me it kind of makes sense because I'm not I'm not the perfect clean cut version of a Christian. I walked away from God for a long time. I mean, I
Yeah.
went hard left, man. And that's because I didn't feel worthy of it. I felt like I
Yeah.
was unclean and I was broken. And so I went on my own path, which ended up being more destructive. And then I realized, yeah, I can't do this on my own. I gotta
Yeah.
turn things, but I had to lose everything
Yeah.
to rebuild. And so I was just curious because I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. When did you come to the States? Like what age were you?
Let me just go back to that before I
Yeah,
forget. 'Cause
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
really, 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 really powerful thought you had there, man. That many men have a bad relationship for the father, earthly father. So does that affect their relationship with their heavenly father? Well, yes and no. Well, why? Well, because for me, and this is going to sound a little strange, that I saw my father in the Bible, this controlling, judgmental person, right?
Mhm.
So, but that did not affect my relationship with God, right? I always believed in God. I always had a relationship with God or something. And you know, I would like not listen a lot of the
Yeah,
time, right? To good
that's
advice.
all of us. That's all of
Right,
us,
right,
man.
right. But it was always there. And I always believed. And I think some of that was I did have some really good mentors in my life.
Good.
And so I came to the belief, and I can't tell you exactly when, but I came to the belief, and this served me in so many ways, and it's also destroyed my life in so many ways, is that nothing happens to you, everything happens for you.
Yeah.
And I went through so many traumatic times, man. I mean, this is going to be another book, but anyway, but I always believed. I always believed, and the light always came at the end of the tunnel, even
Mm,
when I couldn't see it, even when I couldn't see it, right? So I built this faith, right? And faith is not a word, it's an action, right? I built this faith that God was always going to be there and I was going to get through it. This too shall pass, right?
right, right.
Now, sometimes he took a long time, right? I was like, when? When?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But it would always come. So that's one thing. And I'm blessed by that because I know some people can go a lifetime without seeing the light, right? And generations of people have done that, right? So I was very fortunate in that. So the other question is, when was the moment? Which moment? When was the moment? What?
When you moved to America, like, what age were
Oh,
you?
okay, yeah. So I was 29,
Okay.
right? So that was 1989 when I
Okay.
came to live here. I'd been here before.
Mm.
And when I came here before, I realized very quickly I wanted to come and live in America. But it took me, so 81, so it took me 8 years.
Mm.
Yeah, to do
Where
it.
did where did you end up when you moved to America? What state?
Tampa. Initially, Tampa, Florida.
Okay, okay. That's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, s- it's become a really big city since I left there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I left there, I had a sporting goods store that sold
Really?
all, yeah, the NFL, NBA, Major
Wow.
League Baseball, NCAA, all the T-shirts and hats.
Nice.
I had a store full of Michael Jordan stuff, which is a great way to learn about America, where everything was, and I
Yeah.
love sports, right?
Yeah.
But our home team, the Buccaneers, were the worst team in the NFL every year. The worst freaking team.
Yeah.
I put a little bit on how much merchandise I could sell. Plus, they wear those stupid orange jerseys, right? I mean, who wanted to wear
Yeah.
an orange freaking
Right.
jersey, man, with a freaking Buccaneer on it? It was a nightmare, you know? Anyway, and by the time I didn't have the store anymore, then they decided to change the
Change
colors,
the
and it looked really
uniforms.
good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they look cool. Yeah.
And they won the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? What? What do you say? It's all
That's
about
awesome.
timing, right?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. That's funny. So you moved to Tampa. What made you choose that area when you moved over?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I came over to the States a number of times I knew I had to open a business, right?
Uh-huh.
America is the business, right? You bring
Right.
enough money, you get in, right?
Right.
So I had to figure out what kind of a business I was going to get. And I'd seen one of these sporting goods. It's a franchise, right? I'd
Mhm.
seen these licensed sporting goods stores, and that was when the licensed stuff had just really taken off, right? Before all this, it was really hard to get hold of any paraphernalia with the team's name on it. And then suddenly this exploded, right?
Mhm.
So it was a huge growth business. So I decided I was going to do that. And I went to see these different franchises. One was in Philadelphia, one was in Salt Lake City. Oh, and the other one was in near Green Bay. Yeah, in Wisconsin. And so the one I picked was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, just outside there. And so they had a store ready to go in Tampa, in West Shore
Okay.
Mall. Yeah.
Nice.
And so it made sense to pick that store. And plus, my parents had a vacation home down in Sarasota.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like you maintained a relationship with your parents even though you wanted to run away from home and kind of get away from them. It sounds like you kind of stayed in direct communication with them.
Kind of, sort of, with my mom.
Okay.
Not really my dad, right?
Okay, gotcha.
Although, as it would happen, right? Now I have a close relationship with my dad.
That's amazing. That's
I know, right?
amazing.
And
Yeah.
anybody who knows me from England or even here would say, "Yeah, it's never gonna happen, man."
Hmm.
You just never know. You
You
just
never
never
know.
know, man. You just never know.
So how did you get into the counseling and coaching world? Like how did that happen going from moving to America, opening a sporting goods store? Like how did you venture into the coaching world? Cuz that's a
Yeah,
pretty
well, it's kind of
pretty
a
big
leap, right?
shift. Yeah, it's a big leap. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it was another time of reinvention. So the sporting goods store went out of business.
Okay.
Not unusual for me, right? So that imploded. And then I had watched or listened to Tony Robbins.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, I knew that was coming, dude.
Yeah.
I could feel
And
it. Yeah.
so I'm kind of in this limbo situation, and I get a call from a girlfriend. She's a friend and a girl, right? I wasn't dating or anything, but we'd been friends for we had dated. Anyway, we were friends at this point. We were going to counseling. I'm just kidding. I'm
Let's
messing
talk
with you,
about
right? I'm
that.
just messing with you, right?
Yeah,
So
no, we got to talk about this after you finish. I got some questions. I got some questions, Steven. I got some big
I'm
questions.
giving you too much material, man. So
Yeah, you
anyway,
are.
she calls me up, right? She calls me up. I was just thinking about her name. This will make you laugh, man. Her name is Misty Reynolds.
Really?
Sounds like a stripper. She wasn't a
It's
stripper, but she could have been. But anyway, we're going all over the place here, right? So anyway, she calls me up and she says, "Hey, listen, I've got tickets to go see Tony Robbins tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And I go, "Yeah, I do." Right? She didn't even know I'd ever listened to Tony Robbins. Never even talked about Tony Robbins. But her boyfriend was working for Tony as a speaker.
oh, wow.
So anyway, bottom line, I go watch Tony Robbins, and I was just watching him. And I went, "Yeah, that's what I'm going to do."
Nice.
Right? It was in that moment, I knew, right? That's what I wanted to do. So then I set about going to work for him, and that's a book on its own, right? How I
Yeah.
managed to pull that off, miracles, right?
Yeah.
So then I met him, and started working for him I did for 3 years. I went from just being a salesperson to actually being the national sales director.
Wow.
Again, intensity, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then I let it all implode. I just left, right?
Huh.
Then I started doing my own mind, body, and spirit events.
Okay.
And at the end of the events, very often people would say to me, "Can you be my coach?"
Hmm.
Right? And I'm thinking, I don't have any licensure to do that, and you can get in trouble if you don't get proper
Yeah,
license,
big
right?
time.
So I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to college for 7 years, right? Even going to college for 6 months would make me spew, would make me sick, right? I
Mhm.
hated school, right? I hated school. So anyway, so then I found out from a friend that you could actually get a PhD in spiritual counseling,
Huh.
which would take like 3.5 years, half the time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I could do that. And you could do it from home. You don't have to go to a college, right?
Nice.
So that's what I did. And so I became or got a PhD in spiritual counseling so I could have the licensure to do the coaching. And I never ever thought about it, and it wasn't until I'd written this book that my speaking coach said to me, "So you got a PhD in spiritual counseling?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you're a doctor then, I guess." He said, "Well, put it on your book, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why wouldn't
Yeah.
you use it, right?" And I thought, "Oh, okay." I never thought about it, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really see myself as a doctor, and I probably still don't, but that's how that happened.
Okay. So here's a question for you. You go to the seminar with Tony Robbins and you eventually start working for him and then you do your own coaching. Were you sober at this point or were you still using
Yeah. Oh,
drugs and
yeah. Oh,
alcohol?
yeah. No,
Okay.
no, no. No,
Okay.
no drugs, no alcohol. Yeah.
So walk us through that a little bit. Like how did you because that's a big topic, man. I mean, I've been sober almost 5 years, and that's something I really try to hit on in these episodes on this platform. Like,
Yeah.
how, I mean, you don't have to get into the whole story, but like, as far as the journey with sobriety, was that extremely difficult for you because of your childhood and having feelings of, unworthiness, not feeling worthy of love? Like, how did you get to that point to where you were able finally to finally become sober?
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest with you, man, and I feel guilty. I never got addicted.
Really?
Just really lucky, man. I
Huh.
mean, I was so lucky because I've lost friends
Yeah.
to both, man. And I know it is extremely difficult to get yourself out of that. And I've worked with people, I'm married to alcoholics, right? And I've known some of my best friends in school, some of my best friends even over here got addicted to drugs. But for some reason, man, my biochemistry, was just not going to get addicted. Because here's the thing: alcoholism is it's a you can't help it. It's a gene inside of you somewhere. I mean, you could have one drink and be an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
You can have one snort of cocaine and you can be. I've done 'em. I've done cocaine. I've freebase cocaine. I've obviously drank alcohol. So when I say I feel guilty, is that I'm just lucky, man. I was just so lucky that I never. I mean, I would actually, even with the drugs I would take, like I would do amphetamine because that would keep me up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually, if I did it like every every week for 3 or 4, it would start to make me feel sick. I would actually feel it going down the back of my throat, and it would make me heave, right? I mean, how
Wow.
freaking lucky is that,
Yeah.
right?
No doubt.
Telling
No
me,
doubt.
you can't do it anymore. So, or at least for a couple of weeks. Gotta recover, right? So, yeah, no real power of, you know, I don't give myself any credit for overcoming addiction because I wasn't.
Well, and I think addiction is a strong word because I never considered myself an alcoholic. I was
Right.
labeled one by a therapist,
Yeah.
but I got sober and alcohol was my vice. I got sober through unconventional means, and I didn't
Yeah.
use it to function. I used it to numb and
Yeah.
to like basically escape reality. But I abused it. Don't get me wrong. Like I would do a
Yeah.
lot of foolish things when I was intoxicated, but for me, mostly, man, it was environmental. Like, once
Yeah.
I removed, if you wanna call them triggers, like, places like parties, bars, the beer aisle in the store, liquor store, whatever, it was easier for me to stay on the right path, and then that's really where I reconnected with my faith, and that made me even more
Yeah.
determined to stay sober, and when you've got the threat of not seeing your child again because of a divorce, that's enough
Yeah.
motivation to say, "Okay, I'm not drinking anymore."
For
But,
sure.
yeah,
For
so I was
sure.
just curious, man, because I think sometimes people label someone who abuses a substance as an addict, and I know for me, I'd never considered myself addicted. because
Yeah.
in a similar fashion, I was able just to quit it. I didn't have
Yeah.
any
Well,
issues once I
that's
stopped. I mean, I
what's good.
missed it. Don't get me wrong. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
fun. I won't
Yeah,
lie on here and say it's not because it's fun.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, man, I was just curious about that because
But
I
I had
know
another addiction, Steve.
I
I
think I
was addicted to work,
okay.
to whatever I was focused on. That,
Yeah.
because really alcohol, drugs, it's a distraction, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's
It
a
is.
distraction from the pain,
Yep,
right?
100%.
So for my distraction was my work. And because fortunately, or unfortunately, how you look at it, I had success. And so I mean, even rebuilding it again was my addiction. You know, I got to do it again. I got to do it in this way, and then, working all kinds of hours into the night, you know, that gave me a high, right? So I got my high, but in a different place.
So did that this is probably a dumb question, but did that negatively impact your marriages because of that work ethic and working so hard?
I was going to make a joke saying, actually, no, because I wasn't around as much, which probably made it last longer than it would have, right? But yes, although I have to say, and I'm trying to think of all my marriages. Most of my marriages, my wife was my partner. So we
Mm,
worked together,
okay.
which has positive and negative consequences, right?
Right.
Because if you're, what do you say? If you're around anything too much, you tend to take it a little bit for granted, right?
Right.
And we probably did that to each other. But I wanted my wife to work with me and I wanted her to be part of what I was doing. Probably for a variety of reasons, probably because I didn't feel secure to leave her on her own. I don't know, right? Probably I had something to do with it, right?
Right.
But also, I wanted her to be with me, right? Because I travel 4 days of the week,
Mm.
right? So, I mean, what kind of a marriage are you gonna have if you're gone 4
Yeah,
days a
it's
week,
true.
right?
It's
You know?
true.
So, but even though we were together, I was intense in what I was doing,
Mhm.
And, I know for sure because I had a controlling father, you don't realize you're controlling, right? You don't realize it. But the reason you don't realize, and this took me a long time to figure out. So controlling people don't realize they're controlling because the reason they control is to make sure nobody can control them
Mm.
because they were controlled so much in childhood. They're terrified of someone controlling them, so they have to control the other person.
Wow.
And then, people say, "You're so controlling." They go, "I'm not controlling," right? Because they don't believe they are, right? Which
Yeah.
makes it difficult, right?
Right, right. That's a good way to put that. I've never heard it put that way before. That makes perfect sense, though.
Yeah.
It's like self-preservation.
Yeah, exactly, man. It is.
Huh.
It's self-preservation, like most things, right?
Yeah, totally, totally. Let's dive into the good stuff, man, because this is a topic that I don't think I've really covered a lot on this show, and I wanna pick your brain, man. I've been looking forward to this. So we have some similarities, and I know, we're not supposed to compare and stories with each other and all that kinda stuff, but, like, let's talk about lust versus love. And I wanna get your take on why so many, and this is a blanket statement, why so many high performers, men, choose poorly when it comes to wives, girlfriends, whatever. Because I think there's a pattern. I think we chase a certain type of woman, and I'm just curious what your professional opinion is on that, my friend.
Yeah. Well, there isn't just one answer. 'Cause there's a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's deal with the core reasons, right? That most people can relate to. Not everybody, but most people. We're raised with all the wrong ideas of what a husband or a wife should be, right?
Mhm.
Both of them, men and women, right? So men are raised to believe that they've got to save the damsel in distress, right? That they so it's like, what is it? Rescue, save, and fix, right? Rescue,
Yeah.
save them, fix them, and then if you do that, they're gonna love you because you fixed them, right?
Mhm.
And women are taught security, right? You gotta meet a man who can protect you, support you, and in order to do that, you gotta be beautiful, right? And
Right.
men are taught in order to get the beautiful woman, you gotta make a lot of money. You gotta be rich, right? That's so messed up. It's not even funny, right? So now you're in a situation, and any guy will tell you this that's made any money. So you go and you're looking for someone and you think, well, they're only going to love me for my money. What if I didn't have my money? right? And the woman is thinking, what if I don't have my beauty? He's only marrying me because I'm beautiful. What's going to happen when he meets a younger, more beautiful woman? I'm gone. So self-preservation. I'm going to take this guy for as much as I can, get divorced, and I'm out of it. And the guy's thinking, I'm going to, take advantage of this beautiful woman. And when I'm done with her, I'm going to get a younger woman. It actually happens like that because you're so insecure, both of you, right? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but most people don't understand that until it's too late. And for a man, it's very difficult to turn down a beautiful woman, right?
Yeah.
And for a woman, it's very difficult to not be drawn to a successful man because he has power.
Mm-hmm.
They're drawn to the power which they believe is going to give them security and safety, right? And very often in those kind of not all the time, right? I mean, we're making generalities here, right? I always say, I don't like to generalize, which is a good thing to say before you generalize, right?
Totally. You're not controlling.
That's hilarious, man. That was good. And so sometimes this is what causes extramarital affairs because the guy's always thinking, well, what if she meets a richer guy? She's going to be gone. And the woman's thinking, what if he meets a younger woman? He's going to be gone. And so they, in self preservation, are open to or more open to extramarital affairs, right? So that they've got a backup because they're already believing that the other person's going to leave him anyway, and that they don't really love him because you only love me because I'm beautiful, and the guy's thinking you only love me because I got the money, and there's no way. How do you measure if they would stay if you don't have any money? And how do you measure that he would stay even if there was a younger, more beautiful woman? Well, where does that come from? Self-esteem, right? So it's just something that these patterns just soak into every area of your life, right? Every area of your life. So, even becoming successful, whatever that is, right? How about we measure it? What if I wasn't successful? What if I fail this time, right? What if I lose everything? No one's going to love me anymore. No one's going to be around me anymore, which actually very often is true, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
That
is
can be a
true.
self-fulfilling prophecy as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does, and I think that's one of the issues that we see in today's society is that there's not a solid foundation. And I'm one to talk because I've been divorced twice, but I didn't have a solid foundation in either
yeah,
marriage. And
right.
I
Yeah.
think that's you said it really best. Growing up, we're kind of fed this line of what we're supposed to do. Save the damsel in distress. And I was given the nickname years ago, Captain Save a Hoe, because 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 of,
I
yeah.
am freaking feeling that. That is awesome.
I want to get in trouble on this one, but yeah. So I think,
Oh my God.
but I had a lot of insecurity, man, and it stemmed from childhood,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was like this constant fight or flight. Is she gonna leave me? Is she talking to this guy or
Yeah. Yeah.
that? And so I
Now,
think it's
here's the funny thing though, right? Because most women watching this, I don't know what percentage your audience are women, but
more than you think.
all the women are looking at you going, "What?
Yeah.
This guy is so gorgeous, right? How could he ever freaking think that's gonna happen? No woman in her right mind is gonna leave him, right?"
Hmm.
So,
They did.
of course, they said the same thing about me. I'm just kidding. But the point is,
You got a cool
that's
jacket
how we
on.
think. It doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
true, right? It's what we're telling ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You know? And we have this voice that becomes an extension of our parents, right? So initially, our parents are telling us we're not good enough, either
Right.
directly or indirectly.
Right.
Then we go to school that also tells you you're not good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, you just start telling yourself you don't even need those other people anymore. Now you've got that programmed in your mind.
Yep.
You got that inner voice that keeps telling you that, right? Man, it's hard to break. But yeah, for the foundation, man, is so freaking important. So I think of three things. Now, these are not the only thing, but these are really, I think, foundational. And they got to be in the right order, right? So God is number one, right? Because, and you say, why does God have to be one? Shouldn't my wife be? No, God should be number one. Why? Because you can never lose God, right? And if you know that deeply within your soul and your spirit, then you're never going to be left alone, you know? And I'm not saying your family are ever going to leave you, but if sometimes it breaks down, man. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it breaks down with your family. You still
Yeah.
got God.
Yep.
So family second, and then your career. Unfortunately, people get those in the wrong order, right? Not everybody, again, we're generalizing, right? But a lot of people get those in the wrong. And I say, if you get them in the wrong order, your life will be out of order,
Yep. It's true.
right?
And I want to expand it for a second on number one with God. And this is something I had to learn. I never loved myself. I hated myself really until my second divorce, until I really got sober and really developed a relation. And I'm talking relationship with God, not just going to a church, because there's a
Yeah.
difference.
Actually, if you
And
go to church, they can take you in the wrong direction.
100%. Yeah, yeah, 100%, man, 100%. But I
Mhm.
think if you can learn to love yourself, then you got that relationship with God, and then you can kind of see how that goes in that order. Because I think some people get it mixed up because they feel like, well, my kids got to come first. And I was the guy when I was married that put my kids first. I didn't put my wife first. I definitely didn't put God first. I mean,
Right, right.
so I like that. I really like that you said that, because I think people, especially the men listening to this episode,
Mhm.
need to hear that, because that
Yeah,
is so important, man. So
yeah.
important.
I there's so many different ways. It's the truth, man.
Mhm.
Truth. Because without that, and again, we're talking about foundation. It's a
Yeah.
solid foundation, right?
Yep.
And you're gonna build that it's like building a house,
Yep.
right? Build
100%.
the house of God, right? I got a
Yep.
quick funny story for you like this one,
Okay.
right? It's about Jesus. So, there's the janitor at the church is outside the church, right? And he's cleaning things up. And then he sees Jesus there. And Jesus goes, "Well, how come you're not in the church? How come you're not inside?" He said, "Man, they won't let me in." He says to Jesus, "Are you going in there?" He said, "Am I going in there?" He said, "Listen, you think you've got problems. They won't even let me in."
That's sad but true, man. That's
And
sad but
right,
true. Yeah, sad but
so
true.
obviously not everybody, but
No, not everybody,
a lot
but,
of people go to church
yeah,
to show people they go to church,
100%, man. Checking a
you know?
box.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, they're
and they
checking a
don't
box.
live the word, man.
Mm-mm,
They don't live the truth. And
mm-mm.
it's not easy to do. But one
It's
of the
not.
problems I have with that, man, about, Christianity, just so spill the beans here,
Yeah,
is that they tell you to read a book and you gotta live up to that book, and if you don't, you're not a Christian.
yeah.
You can't keep that up, man.
No.
That's nobody could live that way, right?
Mm-mm,
So I don't like that part of it,
mhm.
and like I said, man, I think the most important thing, and I think most people that go to church feel this way too. It's about having, and you said it yourself, it's about having a relationship. You know, that's the key. I mean, nothing wrong with going to church,
No.
but don't make that the key to you being a Catholic, a Christian, a Muslim, whatever it is. Make having that relationship with your creator the key.
Yep, 100%.
And my belief is you don't need an intermediary.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
had
it
I had this
goes right there.
conversation with a client this morning. He was shamed out of a church, and he
Mm,
was raised Catholic, and he was dating a girl that was, Protestant, so he was at church with her, and he was shamed out of the church for what you just said. He was not following the Bible, and I can play both sides a little bit. I understand sometimes there's good intentions, right?
of course,
But
absolutely, yeah, of
you
course.
have to look at it through the lens of, we live in a fallen world. We live in a real world. There's temptation around every corner,
Uh-huh.
and we're not perfect. There was one guy that was perfect, and that was Jesus. That's it. The rest of us are human. So you gotta take accountability, and you gotta ask for forgiveness. But you also can't look at life like, I can't make a mistake, because I was that guy, dude.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What if you were perfect?
What if I was perfect? But I'm not perfect.
That's just your belief. What if, because you're born in the image of God, right?
Right. Here we go. I knew you were going here, dude.
God
Yeah.
doesn't make garbage, right?
No, he doesn't.
Here's the thing. And this goes back to my belief that I said earlier. And I'm going to give you an example of this in a minute. You're going
Okay.
to laugh. You're going to laugh your ass off, right? So I, my belief is that nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you, right? So you might have done things in your past that you feel weren't right, that you don't think was the right thing to do. But let me ask you a question. You might not want to do them again, but in some way, shape, or form, did you learn something from that?
100%.
So it's not that you aren't perfect, man. It's that you needed to go through those experiences to be who you are today.
Hmm.
And if you lived a completely perfect life, whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing everything the right way, you could not have had those experiences.
You're
You
right.
wouldn't have had to learn resilience. You wouldn't have had to learn persistence. You wouldn't have any courage, right? So all those things have molded you into who you are today. Doesn't mean that today you have to think they were necessarily something you want your kids to do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
They'll figure out their own way to mess up, right? To go
Yeah.
through those things, right?
Right.
But in a way, you might have said, look, this is the worst day of my life. But you look back on it and you go, wow, man, I would never do that again. But having been through it, I'm a better person, right?
Yeah.
I can
100%.
now relate to more people, that
Mm-hmm.
I would have been able to had I not done that, right?
Yeah.
Had I not seen what we might consider to be going the wrong way, would I know the right way and the difference, right?
Yep. Yep.
Just a thought.
Well, and I'm going to tie this into it, and that is one of the things I'm trying to do with this platform. Everything you just said, that is how you lead people to Christ, is going through trials, real world experience, having problems like divorce, addiction, whatever. That's how you show people the true love of God, in my opinion, not living a life where you never experience anything bad that happens to you, because that, to me, that's not realistic. But even the ones that pretend and put on the show that they've never done anything wrong, that doesn't show people a standard that they feel worthy of,
Well, they're probably the worst culprits.
100%, dude. 100%.
And what
Yeah.
happens is for people is they will project onto other people so
Mhm.
no one will look at them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you see this happen all the time. People that pretend to be the best people in society, and then suddenly you find out, holy crap, they were doing all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I struggle when people call me a good man. I still struggle with that, Steven. Like, I'm not saying I'm not a good man, but I feel it's
Well,
almost
you
like,
did just say you're not a good man.
well, but it's like that pressure of it, like I'm gonna screw up at some point. So I mean, I'm trying to
Well,
be,
think
I'm
about it. Think about it
trying
though.
hard
When
to
you're
be.
you're you're confusing things that you might think, say, or do with who you are. Those
Mhm.
things are not who you are, right?
Mhm.
So well, there's a couple of things. One is it's frowned upon in society for you to go around saying I'm a good man.
True.
People think, who does he think he is, right? Right? That's number one. Number two is, and I'm just going to clarify this a little bit. So there's a book. Well, there's a group of people. You'll find this really interesting because a lot of people think that Jesus was part of this group, and these people were called the Essenes,
Hmm.
Essene.
Okay.
A lot of people think that Jesus was an Essene. Anyway, they wrote a bunch of um, what do you call it? Scriptures,
Mhm.
and in one of them they write about human consciousness, right? And they say that in the human consciousness, which is, the whole consciousness, are three fears that everybody experiences in their life, the human race experience in some way, shape, or form to a greater or lesser degree. And the three things are self esteem. Now, these are things, by the way, we're not going to go into it, it's too deep, but all these things are related to your relationship with God. Number one is self esteem. Number two is the fear of abandonment. And number three is trust. Okay. All right. So, and people confuse that because they can sometimes project that into the outside world. Has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the outside world. Has everything to do with the inner world and your relationship with God. So, there's a part of us that believes we're not worthy of God's love
Mhm.
because we can't see God. And so that is part of us thinking, well, God left us here and doesn't love us, right? Deep down, this is deep psychological stuff, right?
Yeah.
Abandonment, that God abandoned us here, left us here, right? And number three is trust. How can you trust your father if they leave you, right?
Yeah.
We project those out into the material world, right? So we don't think we're good enough, like you said, to have the most beautiful woman. We don't think we're good enough to be successful, all that stuff, right? And we say things, do things, create a persona so people won't abandon us, right? And then the third thing is, what do people say? You can't freaking trust anybody,
Right.
right? And you're right, you can't, but you don't need to if you have a relationship with God,
Hmm. That's
right?
beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. That's good.
Yeah, well, you should look them up, man. You like it because, like I said, and you can read about it. I mean, put it in AI, right?
Mhm.
think it'll probably tell you that there is a strong probability that God, God, right? Jesus
Yeah.
was a member of the Essene community.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
And they,
Thank
he went around in his early years. Everybody was teaching him, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
around to the Pharisees and all these different people, and they were all teaching him stuff. So I think he learned a lot from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about the Venus Flytrap, Sex, Lies, and Repercussions. Let's talk about your book.
Well, yeah, I forgot I got a book. Yeah.
You got a book. Yeah. Let's talk. Let's talk about your book.
All right. What do you want to know?
Well, why the name Venus Flytrap?
Ooh, what a great freaking question, man.
I have an idea, but I don't know if I can
Well,
say
tell me
it.
what your idea is.
It's on a woman
Yeah.
between her legs. That was my guess.
Wow, man. I'm so freaking
That
glad
was
I
my
asked.
guess, dude.
That was a good one,
that was
man.
my guess.
That is one of the best I've heard, right? And I could have called it for that, and it would have been fitting, right?
That's
For
what I
sure.
thought. I mean, I saw the
Yeah.
imagery on your website. I thought that's
Man,
exactly what he's talking about.
That is
That's-
freaking genius, man. So actually, here's what actually happened. You're gonna laugh, right? So when we first met, I don't need to give you the background. So when we first met, we met online, right? And it's an international freaking website, man. And it's like these chicks are all over the world. And the guys, she lived down the road 30 miles. She lived in St. Petersburg.
Wow.
What are the freaking chances, right?
No kidding.
And I didn't know this to begin with, right? So I see it. First of all, I see her pictures, right? I see her
Yeah.
photographs. I mean, she's drop dead freaking gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
She's 5'11" in her bare feet.
Wow.
Former international supermodel. I mean, you can
Nice.
imagine, right? She's just freaking drop dead gorgeous. So I look at her pictures, and of course, what do you think I said to myself?
She's
No
out of my
chance.
league. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's totally out of my league. But then I'm thinking, well, so then I kind of let it go, and then I keep being drawn back to her again, right? It was like God, the universe, was saying, this is the one, right? Because the
Yeah.
draw was so powerful. I went back, I looked at it again. Finally, I went, well, what have I got to lose? You can't even
Right.
see me, right? It's not like I'm calling her up, right?
Yeah.
So I sent her a text, and my buddy Jerry, who's in the book, he said, "Hey, I sent her this text. What do you think?" And he just laughed his ass off, right? He goes, "She probably stopped reading after the first paragraph, man. I mean, what are you doing, right?" And I was way out of practice, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
hadn't dated a long time. I was just coming out of this marriage, right? So anyway, he's laughing. So I would keep this, and then about 3 days later, she would send like 3 lines. And I would say to myself, God, she likes me.
Yeah.
There was
yeah.
nothing in the 3 words that said anything about her liking me, but I was just like, she responded, right?
She responded. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm trying to get her to go on a date. And the best I could do, Steve, initially was get her to agree to go for a coffee, right? I mean, talk about weak, right? So then she canceled the next day.
No.
Like, that's exactly what I said, right? So the first day she agrees, I go, yes. Second day cancel. Oh, no. So then, anyway, I worked my magic, which there wasn't any, right? But I finally did get her to agree to go on a date with me, right?
Yeah.
I made her laugh, right? And then we go on a date. So then I'm thinking, I got to tie this down, right? I can't let her cancel again.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? So I made all these crazy arrangements. I don't know if you had a chance to read any of the book yet, but it's insane.
Not
right?
yet. Not yet. Yeah,
I
I'll have
went
to read it.
like, you can't even believe the lengths that I went to for this first date. And I couldn't tell anybody it was a first date because they would have locked me up again there, right? So it was so over the top. But I'm thinking, I got to make sure I get her there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her in a text, what's your favorite flower? Letting her know I'm going to buy you some flowers, right? And she texted back, bird of paradise. So then I joked with her again, right? And I go, nuh-uh, mine too. And then I said, it's a bit expensive though. What's your second favorite? I kid you not, man. She texted back like 2 seconds later, Venus Flytrap.
Wow. I was way off.
No, but it's a great idea. I could definitely say that it could be both. But
Part
yeah,
two.
that's what happened. She told me who she was right out of the gate, man. And I say to people, listen, people tell you who they are within you meeting them within 3 minutes.
Yeah.
All the time. We just choose not to listen.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
on the one hand, she was this beautiful bird of paradise,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time inside, she was the Venus Flytrap.
That's cool. That's crazy. I want to throw this in the mix real quick. You mentioned ask her to go out for coffee. I'm in a relationship now, but when I was, recently divorced and dating. In this day and age, man, asking a woman out for coffee is like back when I was in college and you're trying to take them home from the bar. Like they're like, "Oh, coffee?" Like it's like, really? They just want to talk online. Like, what planet are you
Yeah,
on? Like,
exactly, man.
dating is so weird nowadays, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, this was like nearly 10 years ago. So
Still, I mean, it probably
that's
hadn't
my
changed that
I
much.
know, man. It was pretty weak. I'm not denying it was weak.
No, I did the same thing though. Like I would ask girls I met online, like, would you like to have coffee? And they would just stop talking to you. But they would talk to you about dumb shit, just going back and forth. Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Paying for an app for this? I mean, really? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So this relationship, do you feel like that you have gone into it much different than your previous relationships?
Yeah. No, no, not really.
Not really? Okay. All right. Well, at least you're
Oh,
honest.
so I'm just, I joke with you, but yeah, I did go into it differently though, because she became my addiction, man.
Mm,
She was I call her my magnificent obsession, but I was addicted to her. Seriously, she was my heroine, right? She was like heroin to me, man. I, like we said, when I first saw her online, I went out of my league.
yeah.
And I felt that the whole time. You read the book, it's like I used to sometimes walk behind her. And so she was 5'11" on her bare feet, and she would wear 6-inch heels all the time. She was
Wow.
she's 6'4", right next to me.
Yeah.
She towered over me, but I
Yeah.
loved it. And she would laugh. She goes, most men are intimidated by that. I went, not me. The taller, the better for me. All right. I don't care. Right. So she thought that was cool. Anyway, but sometimes I just kind of step back and walk behind her.
hmm
And I'd be thinking, God damn, this woman is with me. Right.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, just talking to myself, going, I can't believe it. Right. So anyway, and she was amazing, man, on so many levels. She was vicious. She wanted to destroy me for reasons that we might not have time to get into right now. But it wasn't for money. Her father's a billionaire. Yeah, father's a billionaire. So it wasn't about the money per se. It was about her not feeling loved by her father. And I told you I was in an asylum when I was 16.
Yeah.
So was she.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, the mirrors were unbelievable, man.
Wow.
So her father put her in an asylum and she couldn't get out. I'm not going to get into the story how she got out, but it's amazing. But anyway, so she was so angry at her father. She never wanted to rely on his money. She wanted to prove to him she could make her own money, right? And she could be successful on her own. She's very intelligent and extremely manipulative. So she realized, she's just too, at 16 or 17, 18, you can't imagine how beautiful she was, man. So she's got men all over her all the time, like flies, right?
Yeah.
So, but because her father didn't love her in the way she wanted to be loved, right?
hmm
She hated men, but she's super smart.
Yeah.
So she would meet wealthy men so she could take all their money and everything from them. Venus Flytrap,
Man.
right? And so I didn't know that was her attention with me, right, in the beginning. And she almost got it all, man,
Wow.
because she understood the law and what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And what happens when someone lives in your house, how the law protects them. So she would do things to try and she'd get me into arguments, right?
hmm
In the hope that I'd hit her. So then she'd get me arrested,
Damn.
then get a restraining order so I couldn't get back in the house.
Yeah.
Then I can't ask her to leave
Right.
because you gotta ask her, you've got to have her evicted.
Damn, that's messed up, man.
This is what she'd done a bunch of times. I had no clue about this, but she almost accomplished it, right?
Wow.
And he was so lucky, man, because I found out she was an alcoholic, right?
Mm.
Now, what I did is I called my friend over, Jerry, so I could confront her about it, which is I should never have done, right?
Yeah.
When he came over, I said, "What do you think I should do?" And he goes, "It's easy, man. Enjoy her for the weekend and then take her home and it's over." But of course, that's not what I wanted to hear. I went, "How do we fix it?" Right?
Right. Yeah.
So we went back downstairs and she just got out of bed. And so I confronted her, which you never do, right? So then it goes totally sideways, right? She goes off. And then, long story a little bit shorter than it would be. We go work out while she's calm. Hopefully she's calming down. Come back, she's nowhere to be seen. And so eventually I call her father. Can you imagine? He's never met me. We've been dating like for 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like calling him and he goes, and so we answer. I don't even know why I answered the phone, but he answers the phone. And I said, "Yes, Mr. Kingston. I don't know it's my I'm telling him who I am." And he's like, "Who the hell are you?" Right. So then so then I go and I said to him, and who does this, Steve? I said, "I don't know whether you know this or not, Mr. Kingston, but your daughter is an alcoholic." I mean, who would say that? He's a freaking billionaire, but you're not gonna believe what he said, Steve.
What'd he say?
He said, "Oh, yeah, I know."
Really?
He said, "I've put her in rehab more times than I can remember."
Wow.
He said, "The last time I put her in rehab, it cost me $100,000.
No kidding.
I checked her in, and 3 days later, she checked out and she was gone."
Hmm.
He said, "Let me ask you a question." He said, "Is she in your house right now?" Now, she was hiding. I didn't know where she was. I'm not gonna say that to him. I said, "Yeah."
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, "Well, get her out and don't ever let her back in again."
No kidding.
Yeah. He said, "The last guy she got, he almost went to jail for 15 years." And it turns out later, I found out that she'd been doing that for 20 years.
It's a good thing you called her dad.
Well, I still went back, man. So
Did you?
anyway, it was insane. You get to the end of a chapter, and the chapters are wild, man. Every chapter, you're going on a roller coaster. At the
Yeah,
end of the
yeah.
chapter, you're thinking, "Oh my God, jeez, I'm freaking." Sorry for blasphemy.
No, you're good, you're good.
You go, "Man, it's over. Thank God for that." And then you turn to the beginning of the next chapter, and you go, "They're back together. How did that happen? Right? There's no way, right?" That's how crazy it is, man. And we got thrown. We had a penthouse cruise, and we almost got thrown off the boat. She knew how to pick an argument. She used to like picking arguments, right? So that I don't know, not so that we could have makeup sex, but that was definitely a part of it. We were addicted to that too.
Okay.
But also, it was a way for her to try and control me. She wanted to bait me and make me angry. It was a way to
Yeah.
control me, right? So eventually, I stopped giving into it, right? So I would go along with what she was saying, right? So she would say, "Anyway, that whore you're dating, I don't even her perfume is disgusting." And I wasn't seeing anybody, right?
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
testing you, right? And I go, "You think so? I kinda like it." So she said, "Give me her number. I'm calling her right now." I said, "Okay, here it is. It's 1-800 I your boyfriend." So I just wouldn't buy it. I would just, like, take it like, "Oh, yeah, it's true," right? Which
Yeah,
would
yeah.
drive her even crazier, right?
Was she
So I
cheating on you?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, 'cause she's projecting that on you.
Yeah, of course, right? Which is what
Yeah.
they do, right?
Yeah.
She would say, I know you have a whore in every city you go to because you can't do with this and another." Well,
Mm.
I'd go away and she was doing it, right? So anyway, and so there was a lot of things that I put up with that you should never put up with.
Really?
Yeah, really. So
Huh.
so it was I saw that in her profile when we first met online, and I love backgammon. So on our first date, I rented a cabana on the roof of the hotel where we had dinner, and I brought a backgammon set, and we played backgammon for the whole period we were together.
Wow.
It was unbelievable, man. I mean, the stuff that went on was just incredible. Anyway, but that's where we would talk. And she was super intelligent, man. She was so smart. Her father is a genius, which is how he made his billions, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, not billions, he's a billion, right? Because he was so intelligent, but he was very unemotional. But she got those intelligence genes. And she would talk to me, man, about her ideas, about the future. And I'm going, holy crap, this is amazing. So you've heard of the phrase déjà vu, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but there's also a phrase, vu d'agir. What that means is when you think you've got an opinion about something that you think is right, it's become a belief, she could flip that around. And you'd go, wow, I never looked at it that way. So that's vu d'agir.
Okay.
And that would happen a lot. And she would go on a rant. And at the end of it, my mouth would be open. I go, holy crap, that was amazing. And I'd say to her, you should definitely run for president. So she was dynamic in so many ways. And she would come with me on trips. We would have an absolute blast. We would go out to dinner and we were staying in a hotel. I mean, I lived in a house with a butler. I mean, it wasn't a normal life. It was a fantasy life,
Yeah.
which made it easier to do these things, right? But you were just so disconnected from reality. So in the end, though, let me just say this because, we could go on for days, right? She came into my life for a reason.
Yeah.
She was a gift, and I'm very grateful that she did. I would never go back, right? But I'm glad she came into my life. And she is what in the spiritual culture they call a master teacher, right? So in these kind of relationships, and I really hope that I hope there's a few people still listening. But what it was, and I know people go through toxic relationships. A lot
Yeah.
of people do, right? And so what I say is, it didn't happen to you; it happened for you. Because someone who's coming into your life that's doing that is a mirror of you.
Hmm.
They're showing you parts of yourself that you haven't taken ownership of, or you've lost during the course of your life, or you've been afraid to show the world because of what you think it might cost you. You're also playing a persona. It's not your real self, because as long as you hold shame, as long as you are afraid to show people who you really are, you can't be. And so you're only living a half life.
Hmm.
And so she gave me the courage to share all the stuff I've told you. I never told anybody that before I wrote that book.
Yeah.
I had it all kept inside.
Right.
Shame, right?
Right. Right.
I'd never been vulnerable really in my life, because the same thing, right? And so she helped me do all those things and showed me so many more things about myself, man. I work with Tony Robbins. I work with Robert Keith. I've worked with a lot of gurus, right?
Hmm.
And I learned a lot, obviously, right? But this was the greatest learning experience of my life by far.
It
And
was a gift.
it was a total gift, man, and it gave me a freedom I'd never experienced before.
So how has that worked in relationships after that? Have you seen things differently?
Yeah, no. I'm
Okay.
kidding. Yes, of course. Yeah, man, because one of the things I wasn't doing was setting boundaries.
Okay.
And what I also did is I gave myself away, which
Yeah.
people very often do in toxic relationships, right?
Yeah.
What do I mean by giving myself away? Stop doing the things, the foundational things that make us who we are. Not just the 3 keys, but also, working out, taking care of my body,
Mhm.
reading, journaling, taking care of my spirit, all these
Yeah.
things, right,
Yeah.
that make me who I am. I stopped doing those things. Why? Because she didn't do them.
Mm.
And so she would distract me away from doing those things, because in a toxic relationship, there's usually a giver and a taker, right? The taker is going to take as much from you as they possibly can, isolate you, so they're the only thing in your life. And then that's the Venus flytrap. They're going to devour you and leave, and then you're going to go to the next house, right? Because no matter how much you give them, it'll never be enough.
So
And is it Go ahead.
I got a question about that. So toxic relationship, if you are in a toxic relationship and let's say they want to be the sole focus of your world. You stop doing the things you did, but let's say that you start doing something else. So now you've got the relationship and now you've got something else you're just like a new business or something you're really working hard at. Do they stay in that relationship to try to pull you back to where they're the primary focus and then they bail or how does that work?
Yeah. Yes, they're going to do that.
As a narcissistic thing, I guess? Okay. I want to share this and I'm going to be real careful how I do this. Well, just for like what we talked about off air.
I know, right?
I
I was
I
laughing because you said that earlier. I'm going,
yeah.
well, can you do this? Can you just give us the name?
Yeah. No, no, no. So
By the way,
yeah,
the name that I give her in the book is not her real
I
name,
figured that.
obviously, right?
Yeah, I figured that. So I became the man that someone in my life wanted, right? But as soon as I became that man, she was gone. But when I was the guy I thought that I was more comfortable being, the destructive Steve, she was there because I was like was always in trouble. I was always screwing up, it
Yeah,
was like
yeah, yeah,
constant. And then when I straightened up, it was like, bye,
yeah.
see
She
ya.
didn't want that, yeah.
No, but everything she said she always wanted, that's what I became. And I didn't do it for her. I did it for myself ultimately, but it really confused me in the beginning of the stages
Yeah.
of the breakup that I thought, well, I'm this guy now. What's going on? But it was really wild, man. It took me a long time to really understand that.
So what did you understand?
That, she was happier with the version of myself that she was let me rephrase that. she wanted me beneath her. So when I became who I truly, really am, the guy sitting here talking to you today, she didn't want that because it would make her have to change too. And she didn't want to change.
There you go. So the biggest lesson is never believe what a woman tells you. And I'm kind
You
of
just
joking.
lost our female audience.
I know, right? But they're going to agree with me.
Yeah.
I promise you they're going to agree with me. Because they don't want a good guy, man. They want a guy. They want a man, right?
Yeah.
They want a man to be strong,
Yep.
opinionated.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to lose a few women right now but it's just natural, right? Women want a guy that's going to decide what they're going to do. One of the things women hate
Where are we going to
is
eat?
when they say to the guy, or the guy comes home and he says, "What do you want to do?" She's like, "Listen, dude, you think about what we want to do. You plan the evening.
Yep.
I've been freaking stressing out all day, thinking of everything that needs to be done. I want to switch off."
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they want you to be the man, decide what we're going to do. I'm not saying you didn't do this, but my point is, women may say they want a nice guy. Bullshit.
They
right?
want the bad boy, dude. They want the bad boy.
It doesn't have to necessarily be bad, but yes, they need to be bad. But the point is, they need to be a little dangerous, a little mysterious.
Yep.
Sometimes guys start out in a relationship and they tell the girl everything there is to know about him. They don't want to know. They want some mystery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to hold back, right?
Yeah.
And give them a little piece at a time. They don't want to know everything about you right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And they don't want what is that thing? Is it called a simp? Right? I don't even know exactly what that is, but I do know it's a man that a woman can dominate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's a
So
punk.
no, they don't want that, man. Now listen, a lot of women will say they do. You know why? Because that's what their friends say they want. And so they're going with the crowd. But really deep down inside, no, I'm not saying that they don't want a misogynist. That's not what I'm saying, right? And they don't want a guy that's going to push him around, but they do want a strong masculine male energy. And sometimes, because this thing has gone way too far, women will call it toxic masculinity.
Yep.
But you know what that is really?
Man.
Well, it's them having toxic femininity.
Ooh.
Because they're pushing men down.
Yeah.
They're trying to get men to behave in a certain way. That is not who they are. It's not nature, right? We are part of nature, right? So, and women say, "I don't need a man." Bullshit. Yes, you do.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's
I was watching Tony Robbins a couple of weeks ago, and he's doing these events. There's like, I don't know, 10,000 people there, right? You know, how he is, right? He fills these stadiums, right? And he's doing a process with a woman that's chosen to stand up and talk about her situation, and he's working with her, and everybody's watching. So he's standing in the middle, right? There's all these people around him, and then he said, "Men, raise your hand if in the last 30 days you have felt unsafe." I don't know, out of 10,000 people, like 3 guys put their hand up, right? So, and then he says, "Now, ladies, how many of you have felt unsafe in the last 30 days?" Almost every hand went up.
That's
right?
sad.
It's sad, man. But if you think about it, and he said, you, a guy, walk through a garage, with your cars parked or whatever, you don't think twice about it. But when a woman's walking on there on her own, she's wondering who's behind the car.
Yeah.
She feels unsafe, right? Because a man could come out and overpower her, right? You're as a guy. I mean, why would a guy want to overpower you, right?
I still look around though.
Well, now because they might have an AK-47. Yeah. But anyway, but you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Women want to feel safe.
I know what you mean.
And I say to, you don't need a man. Okay. So if something happens and you get an intruder in the house, who are you going to call? You're going to call the police. Now, do you want a woman to show up or do you want a guy to show up?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You want someone with the strength and ability to protect you, right? So, I know women say this a lot. It's become a fashionable thing to say. But you never want to diminish a man. And you definitely don't want to diminish your spouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you never want to do that. Build them up. Say good things about them. You could say, why would you even say I don't need a man? Because that's to put a man down or
Mm-hmm.
men down, right? That's
Yep.
weak. That's not a strong woman. That's a
Nope.
weak woman.
You're
A
right.
woman might say, right now I choose not to be with a man. I'm just dating right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not going to date for a while. I just decided that I'm not going to date for a while. You don't have to say I don't need a man.
Right.
You see what I mean? That's a
Yep.
put down. That's a
Yeah.
purposeful put down.
100%.
And women do that a lot.
Yep.
Now, men also abuse women. That's not
Yeah.
good either, right?
No, it's not.
But it should be a mutual respect. It should be always looking for the best in each other, expecting the best in each other, not assuming the worst,
Mm-hmm.
right? And trusting each other. And if you don't have those things, you don't have a relationship.
No, you don't. You don't. You want to hear something funny?
Not really.
So, so, so I've been with my girlfriend Shelly for almost 3 years,
Yeah.
and on our first date, I did what you said not to do. I basically just told her, I said, "Hey, this is what I've been through. This is who I am," and it worked. But I went against and I read that book. What's that book? How to Not Be a Nice Guy or something like that. I read that book and it was funny, man. I just was like, you know what? I'm at a point in my life where I don't even give a shit. If this is not what you want, cool, man. And it was funny because I basically was like, I didn't have a podcast, but I was basically like doing a podcast. And I told her all this stuff, but the difference that I've made, and everything you're saying is right on point, because when I was married, I would try to keep the peace. I would hold in stuff, then it would explode and it'd be bad. So what I do now, and it's not always the best thing or healthiest thing, but I'm much more vocal and I'm much more opinionated, because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna treat you like I feel like the Bible tells me to do it, and I'm gonna be a man. And I tell her this all the time. I'm like, you might see something as controlling, but that's me taking the lead. And and I'm gonna speak for her. She's never felt unsafe with me, because I will if something occurs, I'm gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
That's just my personality. But
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of funny situations going through my head. My last girlfriend, man, she used to drive me crazy. And so I'd get mad, right?
yeah.
And I would say, listen, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And she would go, don't shout at me.
Mm.
And then she'd go, but I kind of like it.
That's hilarious.
Because she liked the
Yep.
masculinity, and
Yep.
she liked me to stand up for what I believed and what I
Yeah.
felt was right.
Totally, man.
And so women will push you to that place,
Yeah, they will.
right? They will. So, you know, one of the reasons they like it is because they're too afraid to do it.
Mm,
Because I won't look like a good girl.
okay.
And everything says I got to be a good girl, right?
Yeah.
Got to say the right thing and, not say anything in back or things like that. So they admire it when people do,
Hmm.
right? And just as we love the fact that they would never do that, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they're sweet and they're kind. And so we're drawn to that as well. It's perfect, man. Nothing wrong with either. I mean, I don't know about you, man, but I don't want to marry a guy.
No, I
You know what I
don't wanna
mean?
marry a guy,
Some of
no.
these women, man, they scare the shit out of you, right? They're like, "You're gonna kick your ass."
Yeah.
And then also, there's a lot of women that'll put you in a straitjacket because they will even threaten you
Mhm.
to have you arrested when you haven't even done anything,
Yep, that's a
right?
scary
These are the
thing, man.
crazy
Yeah,
things that go on, right?
yeah.
So, bottom line, be nice to each other, love each other, trust each other. And if you give someone your trust and they betray it, now you know.
Yep.
Now you know something you didn't know before. And then
Well,
you can say, this person isn't right for me and move on.
yeah. And I like how you looked at it through the lens too of, with the book, you're given a gift. And I think we're in a constant state of learning and growing. That's how we evolve. So if something does happen to us that we don't see as enjoyable or a positive thing, but we can still learn from it. And like, okay, now
Yeah.
I understand this. What can I learn from this? What can I take away from this? And I try to look at life through that lens. Sometimes it's difficult, but I try to see things in that light versus like, why me? Why is this happening to me? But now I'm like, okay, what can I learn? Why is this occurring? What can I learn from it? And then
Can I give
go
you an
forward.
example real quick?
Yeah, 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 totally,
I mean,
totally.
I think most people have gone to bed to now anyway. But anyway, so here's an example from the book, right? And what an amazing gift this was, which is going to seem strange when I tell you the story. So we had a very tumultuous relationship. We broke up all the time, made up, had makeup set. We had a great time.
Hmm.
And we were both addicted to the madness for sure, right?
Yeah.
I've never wanted to have a wife or a girlfriend that was anything other than a little crazy. I am drawn to crazy. I'm drawn to excitement. I'm drawn to adventure. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she was all that, right? And more. So anyway, at one point we'd broken up. And I was going on a speaking trip, going to be gone for 4 days, but she was nowhere to be seen. She'd taken one of my cars and gone on a binge, right? Which
Wow.
wasn't uncommon. But anyway, so I had to leave. So I leave. And of course, she knows when I'm leaving and when I'll be back, right?
Mhm.
So while I'm away, she breaks into the house,
Hmm.
right? Now, there'd been a situation in the neighborhood a few weeks earlier where something had happened and the police were really slow to come out, right? So the director of this community called up the chief of police and chewed him out and just said, listen, we pay all this money. I mean, this is a really, really exclusive neighborhood, right? I lived in a
Yeah.
mansion. Right? So she's saying, look, we pay all this taxes. You should do better, blah, 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 which of course
Yeah.
he really liked, right? So anyway, so she gets in the house, sets off the alarm, and it's connected to the police station, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, really? We're slow, huh? Let me show you how hot and heavy we can come out, right? So he sent out, I'm not kidding, man. He sent out 6 squad cars, 2 SUVs, and police dogs, 4 police dogs that are running through everybody's garden. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and every car has its lights on, right? I mean, it
Man.
lit up the whole freaking neighborhood, right? So anyway, make a long story longer. So now, I kind of already told you the police are out there all the freaking time, right? She's constantly trying to get me arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're almost on first names with all the freaking policemen. I said at one point, I said, you should probably open up a station here in the community and save them a lot of time. Anyway, so one of them calls me. He's got my number on speed dial, right?
Man.
He calls me, man, and he goes, hey, listen, she's here. And I go, listen, under no circumstances let her in that house. And he goes, well, I'll call you back. So he calls me back and he goes, look, I just spoke to the chief of police. He said, look, she's here all the time. We know she's living in the house most of the time. He said,
Yeah.
I got to let her in. I'm like, you got to be kidding, man. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this house is going to be completely wrecked, right? So anyway, they let her in and I'm away, right? I'm like 3,000 miles away on my trip. So I have to wait until I get home. I get home. Of course, she's gone, right? God knows where. So I walk in the house and it's like, wow, everything's fine. She's not done anything, right? I'm going, no way. So I go in the kitchen, I put the kettle on, and I go in the other room, come back, and the kettle's not even boiling. So I go look at the kettle, flip the switch, nothing's working. So I look behind and she snipped the wire.
No.
And of course, now she snipped the wire on every single electrical appliance in the house, right? Upstairs, downstairs, lamps, everything, TVs, everything, right? Because that's how she is. But she did it in a way that was covert, so you wouldn't realize it at first, right? She's smart. So then I go, oh my God, this isn't going to be it, is it? I don't know whether I told you this, but it's in the book. But when I was a kid, my mom used to send me to school in school clothes that were way too big, man. I mean, some of them would still fit me to this day. So it was embarrassing because of the kids, of course. Your clothes are too big, they're going to freaking humiliate you, right?
Yeah.
And the teachers weren't any better. So that was painful, man. Again, being laughed at, right? I had to find a way out of the pain. So by the time I was 9, I was buying my own school clothes, right? And so clothes became very important to me, right? Because I never wanted to be laughed at for my clothes again, right?
Yeah.
And so now, going back to where we were at this point, I'm living in this mansion. I've got making a lot of money. And so my wardrobe was to die for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, no, please. Oh my God. So I go to the closet. Everything looks fine. But then I go inside the closet and I pull the clothes back. She's cut them all up, man, right? In strategic places, the pockets, the lapels, the back, whatever. Yeah, man. And my shoes, right?
Damn.
Which sounds funny, but she did. Now, my belief, nothing happens to you, everything happens for you, right? Listen, that doesn't happen immediately, right? You can go through I was so mad, right? I was angry. I'm like, I'll kill her. I didn't want to hurt her, but I did want to kill her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go through this emotional outburst, right? I mean, I think I blacked out at some point. I was so mad. But anyway, at some point late the next day, I finally collapse into an armchair in the living room and I go, okay, so this happened for me, huh? All right, this is gonna be good. Explain that to me, right? I'm having this conversation with myself, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get it right away because you're still angry. You're still in the emotion, right? That's normal. We're human beings. And the first thing that comes to mind isn't probably going to be it. So the first thing that came to my mind was, well, it's only clothes, right? And then your brain goes, yeah, but they were really nice clothes, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to work, right?
No.
So finally, and this could take days, man, but you just got to be committed to the belief, right? So finally, I got it. Attachment.
Mm.
I was attached to those clothes. Now, there's nothing wrong with enjoying and liking nice clothes.
Yeah.
But attachment means you think it's a part of you. It's a part of your identity.
She
Right?
taught you a lesson.
She major, right? Now, if I
Wow.
hadn't have had that belief and committed to it, I would still be angry at her to this day,
Yeah.
right? And I'd be
Right.
carrying that, right? And so here's what I say. Look, if you think it happened to you, now you got a wound.
Mm.
And that's going to need healing, right? If you commit to the belief that it didn't happen to you, that in some way, shape, or form it happened for you, and you search for it and you find it, now you're wiser.
That's a good way to look at it.
And
Really
the
good way.
idea, and the thing is, that was a rolling aha moment. It was a rolling realization because obviously I go, what else am I attached to?
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do I need to let go of for my own sanity and my own more realizing who I really am? And it went on and on from there. So, and I came to a realization as from this, and I think you can relate. What came into my mind was that there's a reason they call them possessions.
Hmm.
It's because they possess you,
Hmm.
right? So what does that mean? So think about how hard I had to work to get all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to do that, I had to sacrifice time. I had to sacrifice time with my family. I had to sacrifice time on my own. I had to sacrifice the time to enjoy the damn things I worked hard to get.
Yeah.
And then I had to work hard to keep them.
Right. Right. Totally.
Like you think about owning a mansion and having all the gardens that constantly need updating, taking care of. You got all these things to freaking think about and pay for. And you got to go out and pay tons of money to do that. Then you got to buy new stuff because the other stuff's going to get outdated and there's all kinds of new stuff you should have.
You're a slave to it.
It never ends, man. It
Yeah.
never ends. And so coming to that realization was an even bigger gift that I wouldn't have come through if she hadn't have done what she did.
She was your coach.
She was my
Ultimately.
master coach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Ultimately.
Yeah. So I was very blessed, but it wasn't that it wasn't stressful, but it was also, man, we had some amazing times together, just amazing,
Mm-hmm.
Imagine spending 3 days in a sex room with a supermodel. I mean, things could have been worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then your clothes are destroyed.
Right. There you go. Well, and I would say to myself constantly after some crazy thing she did, I would say, okay. And I talked to the reader in the book, right? I'm going, you're probably thinking I should have broke up with her, right? And I said, well, first thing, if I did, you wouldn't be enjoying this amazing story now, would you?
Right. Yeah.
And second of all, I kept checking in with myself and saying, look, I could break up with her right now. Yeah, I could. And then I go back to a relatively mediocre life, or I could stay with this crazy bitch, have amazing adventures, enjoy her for all she has to offer. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until I didn't, right? Until I didn't anymore. So I did enjoy the ride. It was stressful. I wouldn't want to do it again. And I know I'm healed from that now. It doesn't mean, I'm still working on a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And by, doing these podcasts, writing the book, it's helped me continue that process, right? Because I think about things would pop in my mind because I just talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Very
I hadn't thought of
therapeutic.
before. Yeah,
it's
very therapeutic. Yeah,
for
it is,
sure.
yeah.
Where, because I know in the description here, I'm going to put the link so they can get the first 3 chapters to the book. Where can our listeners and viewers buy your book?
Well, it's available on Amazon.com.
And I'll put that in the link too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy the book, that's great. But I strongly recommend you get the first 3 chapters first, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You get a feel for the book.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to want to buy the book when you've done that, but it's not a bad idea to just check it out first, right?
Right.
And then if anybody feels like they might be or know they are in a toxic relationship, there is another handout I think we've given you for the 7 signs you're in a toxic relationship. And anybody who wants to take it a little deeper, there's a link to a complimentary 30-minute session with me. See if there's things that I can maybe help you overcome and enjoy a more fulfilling life. The website's on there, and there's tons of stuff on the website that also can be very helpful. And I got a podcast, all right?
Mm-hmm.
The Venus Flytrap podcast, if anybody would love to join me there. And I chat about all these things in much more detail. And that's about it, man. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put all those links in the description here. What about if they want to connect with you on, and this will be in the description also, but like if they want to connect with you on social media, can you tell our viewers where you're at on social media?
Yeah. I'm not going to go through all the links because I don't even know them. But you can,
I'll put them in. I'll put them in. I've got them. I'll
yeah,
put them
yeah, yeah.
in.
Thank
Yeah.
you. But they're also available on the website. All the links, you
Right.
can refer
Right.
to them. Yeah, is on there. And I know you've got the links on there, but
Yeah. I'll put it all in there.
the names are all too long for me to
Yeah.
remember.
It's all good. It's all good. I got you. Well, as we're closing out, I like to ask every guest this. And is there a motivational quote, a creed, or a scripture you'd like to share with our audience? Is there one that just has helped you kind of through some of the trials you've gone through in your life? Is there one that just kind of jumps out at you?
Yeah, there is, man. And I've mentioned a number of times, and that is just remember that nothing happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything happens for you. And that's changed my life, man, on so many levels. And if you commit to that belief, I believe it will change, your audience, it will change theirs too.
Yeah. I'm going to share one I have. This is from the book of James, chapter 1, verse 5. Do any of you need wisdom? Ask God for it.
Mm-hmm.
He is generous and enjoys giving to everyone, so he will give you wisdom. Here's the cool thing, Stephen. Like when I do these episodes, I always have a scripture kind of loaded, ready to go. And most of the time, I got the scripture off the app I use every day when I do my morning routine. I didn't research which one to put into this episode. Most of the time they tie into the topics that
It was
I'm
perfect.
discussing. And
It was
you
perfect.
said that
Yeah.
while you were sharing your story. So it's really cool how that
It's
there's
perfect,
that
man.
connection there. Yeah, man.
Synchronicity. It's synchronicity. It's beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
I do believe that God was present for what we just did here and put that energy in there and
Yeah.
said hello, right?
Definitely, man. I wouldn't be doing this without God. I mean, he is definitely in this with me because I am not a podcaster by trade. This is a new endeavor for me. Less than a year I've been into it. I love it, and I really feel like this is my purpose. But it's because I put God in it. I didn't just say,
Yeah. It's
I'm going to be
also
a podcaster.
it's all because God is supporting you because you're doing this from your heart.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
And God is in my life all the time too, man. So we're very blessed with that. But we put ourselves out there. It's not
Mhm.
easy to do it's not easy to do a podcast when you've never done one before. It's courageous, right?
Yeah,
You're putting yourself in a position where courage is not the absence of fear. It's when you're afraid and you do it anyway, right?
totally.
You walk in faith, right? You don't even know where the staircase is going, but you'll take the next step.
Well, I want to tell you this while we're closing out. You were very easy to talk to, and I really appreciate your humility and your kindness because sometimes when you're doing podcasts, you don't really know how the guest is going to be. And man, you're just really cool guy, and you're easy to talk to, and I really appreciate that.
Well, we're kindred spirits there, man. I felt
Yeah,
the same way. I
yeah.
really enjoyed it.
And
Um,
do me a favor, catch some waves for me, man, because I'm really jealous. You're in Florida.
Well, the thing is, man, we don't have that. The waves are not that big here, right? They're
I
bigger
just
on
mean
the
go
other
to the
side.
beach, dude. I just
Yeah,
mean go to
yeah,
the beach.
yeah.
So I don't have a
Well,
beach here,
we
but
have
yeah.
we have one of the nicest beaches in the world on Siesta
Yes, you
Key, so
do.
yeah,
Yes, you
yeah,
do.
we're very
Yeah.
lucky. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say a prayer and close this out. Is there anything else you want to add to the episode before I close this out?
Well, 4 more stories. I'm kidding. No.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity tonight to sit with Stephen and to share his story. I am grateful to get to know him and to share his story, and especially to hit subjects that we have not spent a lot of time on this platform. Lord, just thank you for connecting both of us. Thank you for the ability to share here on this podcast tonight how men can better their lives, how they can find purpose and know they're not alone, and that they have value, they have meaning, and they are worthy of love. And I think that's the big thing, Lord. So many men struggle feeling worthy of love and finding who they really are. And I just pray, Lord, that you will bless everyone listening and watching this episode. Bless Stephen, bless myself, and just be with us, Lord, and guide us and lead us. It's in your mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for checking out the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Be sure to smash that bell, subscribe to the channel. New episodes drop every week. We're also on Spotify Amazon Music, and Apple Podcast. Stephen, this has been a great episode, man. I really appreciate your time tonight and coming on and sharing your story and telling us more about your book and just being there, man. This is a great episode.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much. God bless, and I really appreciate you.
Bye for now.
Take care.